Hey, I'm Sarah. I'm 17 and the top of my class at Westview High, but life at home feels like I'm living in a pressure cooker. My dad, Tom, remarried pretty quickly after my mom passed away 3 years ago. And let's just say Linda, his new wife, isn't exactly winning any Stepmom of the Year awards. Most of my days are a blur. I'm grinding hard to keep my grades up because getting into a good college feels like my only ticket to freedom. After school, I work at Joe's Diner slinging burgers. It's not glamorous, but it gets me out of the house and puts some cash in my pocket. The only thing keeping me sane in all this chaos is my best friend Jake. He's been there for me through everything. We've known each other since kindergarten, and lately, I've noticed him looking at me differently. I'm not blind. I know he has feelings for me, but he hasn't said anything. Honestly, with everything going on, I'm relieved. It's one more thing I don't have to deal with right now. Then last week, Linda dropped a bomb. Her kidneys are failing, and she needs a transplant. At first, I felt bad for her, like who wouldn't? But then I noticed the way Dad started looking at me, and I knew what was coming. "Sarah, honey, we need to talk," he said. I braced myself. "What's up, Dad?" "It's about Linda. You know her situation is serious." "Yeah, I know. It sucks." He cleared his throat, and I could feel the tension rising. "We were hoping. We need you to get tested to see if you're a match for Linda." My stomach dropped. "You want me to give her my kidney?" "For now, we're just asking you to get tested. It would mean a lot to us." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Dad, that's a huge ask. I'm 17. What about my future, my health?" "Your future, Sarah? This is about saving a life, your stepmom's life." I bit my tongue, trying not to say what I really thought about Linda. "I need time to think about this." He nodded, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes. "Don't take too long. Linda's health is declining quickly." I felt like I was going to be sick. The second I could, I called Jake. "They want you to do what?" Jake's voice was sharp through the phone. "They want me to get tested to see if I'm a match for Linda's kidney. Can you believe that?" "That's messed up, Sarah. You're just a kid. They can't expect you to make that kind of decision." "Tell that to my dad. He's acting like I'd be a monster if I said no." "So, what are you going to do?" I sighed. "I guess I'll get tested. Maybe I won't even be a match and this will all just go away." But of course, life isn't that simple. The results came back, and wouldn't you know it, I'm a perfect match for Linda. Ever since, the tension in the house has been unbearable. Dad's acting like he just won the lottery, and Linda's suddenly treating me like we're best friends. It makes my skin crawl. Now, I feel trapped. On one side, I have my dad and Linda pushing me to go through with this. On the other, I've got my own fears about the surgery, about my health, my future. And there's this nagging thought in the back of my mind. If the situation were reversed, would Linda do the same for me? The tension reached a boiling point when I walked into the living room and saw Dad and Linda sitting there, all serious. They had that "we need to talk" vibe, and I wasn't ready for it. "Sit down, Sarah," Dad said, his voice firm. I perched on the edge of the chair, feeling ready to bolt. "What's going on?" Linda leaned forward, trying to sound sweet, but I could see through it. "Sweetie, we've been patient. But it's time to make a decision about the kidney donation," Linda said, her voice laced with fake sweetness. "I told you I needed time to think," I replied, feeling my heart race. Dad's face hardened. "Time's up, Sarah. Linda's health is deteriorating. We need an answer now." I stared at him in disbelief. "Are you seriously cornering me like this?" "We're not cornering you," Linda chimed in, her tone falsely innocent, but her eyes told a different story. "We're just concerned about my health." That's when it hit me, all the cruel little things Linda had done over the past year. The accidental spills on my homework, the snide remarks about my appearance, the nights she'd conveniently forget to save me dinner after I came home late from work. And now she wanted my kidney. "I can't do it," I blurted out. "I'm sorry, but I can't." Dad's face twisted with fury. "What do you mean you can't? This is your stepmother we're talking about." "I know, but nothing," he roared. "This is life or death, Sarah. How can you be so selfish?" Tears pricked my eyes. It's not selfish to care about my own health and future. Linda started her usual act, fake crying, which only fueled my anger. "I thought we were family," she whimpered. I let out a bitter laugh. "Family? You've never treated me like family, Linda. Not once." Dad shot up from his chair, towering over me. That's enough. I won't have you talking to your stepmother like that. But I stood my ground. No, it's not enough. You both need to hear this. I'm not a spare parts factory. I'm a person with my own life and dreams, and I'm not sacrificing my health for someone who has never shown me an ounce of kindness. The room fell into a suffocating silence. Dad's face turned an alarming shade of red as he spoke in a low, dangerous tone. If that's how you feel, then get out of my house. I blinked, sure I hadn't heard him right. What? You heard me, he said, voice icy. If you won't help Linda, then you're no daughter of mine. Get out. I felt my world crumbling around me. Dad, you can't be serious. I've never been more serious in my life. You have an hour to pack your things and leave. Tears streamed down my face as I ran to my room. My hands shook as I called Jake. Jake, I need you. I sobbed. Can you come over? I'm on my way, he said without hesitation. I threw a few clothes and essentials into a duffel bag, my mind racing with panic. Where would I go? What would I do? As I stumbled down the stairs, I saw Dad tossing the rest of my things onto the front lawn. Dad, please, I begged, tears choking my voice. Don't do this. He wouldn't even look at me. You made your choice, Sarah. Now live with it. I stood there, surrounded by my belongings, feeling like my life was falling apart. That's when Jake's beat-up Corolla screeched to a halt in front of the house. He jumped out, his eyes wide with concern. Sarah, what the hell happened? He asked, rushing toward me. I couldn't even speak. I just collapsed into his arms, sobbing. Hey, he whispered, holding me tightly. It's going to be okay. You can stay with me and my folks. We'll figure this out. As Jake helped me load my stuff into his car, I caught a glimpse of Dad watching from the window. For a second, I thought I saw regret in his eyes. But then the curtain fell and he disappeared. I climbed into Jake's car, feeling numb. I can't believe he actually kicked me out, I whispered. Jake squeezed my hand. Sarah, you did the right thing. No one has the right to demand something like that from you. As we drove away from the only home I ever known, I felt a strange mix of fear and relief. I had no idea what was coming next, but at least I was free from the pressure and manipulation. And I knew one thing for sure. I had a true friend in Jake. Whatever came next, I wouldn't face it alone. Moving in with Jake's family was a lifesaver. His parents treated me like one of their own, giving me the spare room and never making me feel like a burden. But even with their kindness, I struggled. Some days, it was hard just to get out of bed. The guilt, the fear, the uncertainty, they all weighed on me. But I threw myself into school, determined to finish strong despite everything. That's when the whispers started. Dad was going around trash-talking me to anyone who would listen, painting me as some heartless monster. It hurt like hell, but I kept my head high. Then came the real bombshell. Jake's mom, who works at the hospital, let it slip that Linda had a history of this kind of behavior, manipulating people for money and even trying to guilt an ex into donating an organ. Learning this felt like a punch to the gut, but it also validated my decision. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't heartless. I started seeing a therapist to work through the trauma of being kicked out and the abandonment issues I hadn't even realized I had. It was tough, but it helped. Slowly, I started healing. One night, Jake and I were studying late when he suddenly looked at me, all serious. Sarah, I need to tell you something, he said. I like you, as more than a friend. I was shocked, but in a good way. I like you too, Jake, I admitted. I think I have for a while. We started dating, and it just felt right. He had been my rock through everything. When graduation day finally came, I walked across that stage as valedictorian, with a full ride to State University. I felt like I was on top of the world. Then, out of nowhere, Dad showed up at Jake's house. Sarah, can we talk? He asked, looking sheepish. I crossed my arms. What do you want? I wanted to apologize. Linda found another donor, and I realized how wrong I was to pressure you. I let out a bitter laugh. So you're only here because you don't need my kidney anymore? How thoughtful. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm doing great without you. I shut the door in Dad's face, feeling stronger than ever. I survived. I was thriving, and I wasn't about to let anyone drag me down again. 2 years flew by, and I was absolutely crushing it at State. My pre-law classes were tough, but I loved every minute of it. I even landed a sweet internship at Johnson and Mills, a hotshot law firm downtown. Life was good. Then, out of the blue, Jake hit me with some news. "Sarah, you might want to sit down for this," he said, his face serious. My stomach nodded. "What's up?" "It's about Linda. Her transplant. It didn't take. She's back on dialysis." I felt conflicted. I didn't wish her harm, but I couldn't help thinking about what might have happened if I had given her my kidney. Before I could process that bombshell, my phone buzzed. It was Dad. I hadn't heard from him since that day at Jake's house. "Sarah, please, we need help. Linda's medical bills. We're drowning. Can you spare anything?" I couldn't believe it. After everything, he had the nerve to ask me for money. "Sorry, Dad, not my problem. Don't contact me again." I blocked his number, feeling a strange mix of anger and relief. A few weeks later, I was filing paperwork at the firm when something caught my eye. A familiar name, Thomas Reeves, my dad. I knew I shouldn't, but curiosity got the better of me. What I found made my blood run cold. Dad had been evading taxes for years, and Linda had been running an insurance scam, claiming treatments she never received. It was all there, in black and white. I stared at the documents, my mind racing. What should I do? In the end, I knew I had to do the right thing. I made an anonymous tip to the authorities. Things moved fast after that. Within a month, Dad and Linda were arrested. I watched the news coverage, feeling weirdly detached. When the day of their sentencing came, I don't know why, but I felt like I needed to be there. As the judge read out their sentences, 5 years for Dad, 3 for Linda, I felt this enormous weight lift off my shoulders. Dad caught my eye as they let him out. He looked defeated. Part of me felt sad, but a bigger part felt free, like I could finally close this chapter of my life. That night, Jake threw me a surprise party. His parents were there, along with my college crew. As I looked around at my chosen family, I felt this surge of gratitude. "Speech," Jake called out, grinning. I raised my glass. To family, the ones we choose. To surviving the tough times and coming out stronger. And to Karma, may she always deliver. Everyone cheered, and as Jake pulled me in for a kiss, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. The road had been rough, but I'd made it. And the future? It was looking brighter than ever. The story's over, but I've got a question for you all. If you were in my shoes, would you have given your kidney to Linda, knowing what you know now? Was I right to refuse, or should family always come first, no matter what? Drop your thoughts in the comments.